Exact location. This is Broadway. I'm going to put a yellow arrow on Broadway, and this is Worth Street, right there in Lower Manhattan, where you head toward Transfiguration School and New York Law School. In between, that crane is lying in that area from right across here on Worth Street. This is Broadway. So the wind was coming right down Broadway, and you take a look at those wind speeds. That wind speed was at 22 miles an hour at 8:32 to 8:24 a.m. So with the wind coming down Broadway and channeling through there, I mean, there is a case that could be said, you know, these cranes are massive and they are heavy. But the temperature and the snow and all this was around 32, and the winds were gusting up around 22 to 30 miles per hour, as you see. That could be a contributing factor to that, as if, you know, former Fire Chief Van Ness was talking about, they moved these things around starting after 8 o'clock in the morning. And that could be a contributing factor. Heavy, wet snow, ice. You know, if it's 20 stories up, the wind 20 stories up is going to be around 35 miles per hour, and then you could have a severe icing condition. But, you know, they do plan for these things, and they plan for this weather. They knew this weather was coming. So it is possible that that could be one of the contributing factors. It is not good weather out there, and it is still windy. You know, we are getting other reports around the area of trees and limbs down so far this morning with this storm that we have, and it's still continuing. So, you know, in that 8 o'clock hour, we really had some tough winds. As the sun starts to get up after 7 o'clock, the wind really starts to pick up, and it channels through those buildings, and that also takes that wind speed even higher as it funnels through that area.
Okay, we also understand that the local streets, so many of those local streets are closed. The #1 subway trains are bypassing the Franklin Street. So there's a ripple effect here. We need to check in with Heather O'Rourke so we can get a traffic update on what's going on in that vicinity and how it's having an impact. Heather?
Hi, Lori. Yes, we do have closures in Lower Manhattan because of that. Now, Bill was drawing that map for you. I also have some maps that I can show you. Lower Manhattan with Worth Street closed down for several blocks east of Broadway. That, of course, is going to cause major gridlock situations in Lower Manhattan. In fact, a lot of people head up Church Street in order to get to Canal Street to get to the outbound side of the Holland Tunnel, and traffic coming into the city via the Holland Tunnel also can get jammed up getting into that spot. Not to mention you have the Brooklyn Bridge over there, the Manhattan Bridge there as well. So Lower Manhattan, it's a great idea to avoid the area of Canal Street in Lower Manhattan at this point. As we all know, Lower Manhattan comes to that point down there, things start to narrow up a lot down into Lower Manhattan. So for commuters that are going down there, unfortunately, as Rob was saying, as you were saying, Lori, the one trains are bypassing Franklin and Chambers Street. So this is a problem not only for vehicular traffic, but also for pedestrians that are going through that area with all these closures. So it's going to be a very tough ride for those who are going through that area.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Thank you, Bill. We want to head back down to the scene, check in with Eyewitness News reporter Rob Nelson, who is on the scene. I got to tell you, Rob, looking at these photos, it's just, as you said, this crane, the stretch of it over these blocks. What a scene.
No, absolutely, Laura. Like I said, we see crane collapses many times in New York City, but I have never seen anything like this. Just the sheer size of what toppled here. Again, this crane could have been as high as 20 stories tall, and so it's taking up several blocks here along Worth Street down here in Tribeca. So it really is just a massive operation at this point. Again, I want to remind people we have confirmed that one person has died in this. Several people have been injured. They've been taken to the hospital, but their condition at this point is unclear. All of this happened shortly before 8:30 this morning. This construction crane, which is operated by a company called Bay Crane, came crashing down onto numerous parked cars. We also understand one person was trapped in a car that was crushed by that falling crane, but that person was able to be rescued. Certainly good news there, but it's still unclear exactly what that person's condition is at this hour. We also know that the force of this collapse, just imagine a piece of equipment this big, up to 20 stories tall, collapsing onto the street. We understand it has caused a water main break here along Worth Street and West Broadway. Also a possible gas main break on the West Broadway side as well. So ripple effects from what has happened here. So right now the cleanup operation is underway. We can tell you just from being out here the last 20-25 minutes, an incredibly tense scene. The media keeps getting pushed further and further back from the scene. NYPD is out here. The fire department is out here. The buildings department is out here. They're checking the structural structural integrity of buildings that could have been impacted by this, by just the sheer force of this crane collapsing. So we're not clear the safety of other surrounding buildings right now, or perhaps if other buildings were damaged when this came down. But right now, again, one fatality in this has been confirmed. Subway traffic has been impacted. Bus traffic has been impacted. Pedestrian traffic, obviously, vehicular traffic, several roads have been closed. So right now, an incredibly active scene down here right now as they try to, one, figure out exactly what happened, two, to make sure the buildings are safe, three, to make sure people are out of those buildings and are out of harm's way as well. When I asked one of the police officers, why are you moving us so adamantly, they say it's for your own safety, because we just don't know if what else could potentially happen here. So they're just pushing everybody back at this hour, pedestrians and media alike, and a very active scene. Again, FDNY is out here. If my photographer Rob will scan right here across the street, excuse me, sir, one second. Right here, this Bay Crane vehicle, that is the company that owned the crane. You can see they are here at the scene. That's the company that owned the crane that fell at 8:24 this morning. And also, another extraordinary scene, and I want to make sure people at home can kind of decipher what this is. If you look right down the street, this is the closest we can get. But from my vantage point, it looks like you literally, the main operating booth of the crane literally flipped upside down. So when you look down the street and you see those two things sticking up in the air, snow covered, that's the base of the vehicle. So it looks like this could have been a complete flip upside down of that operation booth for the crane. That tells you just what a traumatic fall, or collapse, I should say, that this really was. So again, Lori, several injuries, one fatality, active scene here, and again, unknown exactly what caused this, if it's weather related or not. Obviously the snow, obviously the wind, certainly not ideal conditions, but certainly a lot of questions still at this hour about how this all happened, but just an extraordinary scene here in downtown today. Lori?
Twitter, FDNY saying on scene of crane collapse at 40 Worth Street and West Broadway in Manhattan. One patient confirmed DOA, two serious. You've laid out the scene very well for us, Rob, and then you think of all the different elements that come into play. As you've said that they have to check the structural integrity of the buildings there. They have to look underground to make sure that there hasn't been another danger that's been posed as a result of this. They have the ongoing investigation. We have one fatality, two people in serious condition at Bellevue, that were taken to Bellevue Hospital. The scene, just the magnitude of the scene and the investigation with all the various tentacles that have to go out and what has to take place here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure it will be a while before we have a definitive answer. Lori, let me point one thing out to you as well. If I'm still up here, we understand Mayor de Blasio is either here at the scene or on his way. We do expect a press conference very shortly for him. So maybe in the next few minutes or so, we will get some more answers as to exactly what happened here. But again, the mayor coming to the scene and holding this impromptu press conference shortly speaks to the gravity of what has happened here and the seriousness, especially when you consider that one person did not survive this, and the extent of the injuries of those who were hurt is still unclear. So the mayor is expected to speak in a few minutes and having a press conference just a few blocks from where we are, I believe, at Church and Thomas. We have a crew setting up there, so we certainly will bring that to you as soon as that begins to happen. Lori?
Okay, Rob, we'll check back with you. In the meantime, on the phone, we have Sydney Alvarez with Con Edison on the phone. Mr. Alvarez?
Good morning. How are you?